Hello everyone. So I've really tried to record this video once, but I'm trying to record it with Cleo in the room just because I haven't really got that much time in the day. So I'm having to kind of use my time wisely. So with blog stuff and just family life, I'm having to record this video while she's in the room. So if you can hear cars in the background, that is why. But I have already tried to record this video once and it just didn't work. The sound was, there was just too much background noise. So I decided that I would film it again. Now, yeah, this video is, there's a lot of information and a lot of things happened. So it's a bit of a hard one to talk about just because so much did happen in a very short period of time. So I'm going to talk about when I was 19, I was pregnant at the same time as my mum. Now, I have written a blog post about this as well. I've written two, being a young mum and being pregnant at the same time as my mum. So I'll link them down below in case you want to read them as well. But basically, in 2014, I was still at college and I found out that I was actually pregnant. Now, being that age, finding out I was pregnant, I was worried about what family would say and friends would say, and I was worried, to say the least, and I was shocked. And obviously I had to tell Johnny, he had to tell his family, and obviously I had to tell mine. Now, I decided to tell Johnny and then I told my mum. And I can remember really struggling to tell my mum that I was pregnant, but when I did finally get the words out and tell her, I think she kind of already knew. She already expected me to tell her that. I think as soon as I said I need to talk to you, she just knew. And she kind of told me like the next things I need to do, get a doctor's appointment and this and that. Obviously I was only 19 and first time mum, I didn't know what I was doing or what I was meant to do or anything. And then my mum basically tells me that she thinks that she is also pregnant. Now, it was a shocker to say the least for me, and I think my mum was slightly shocked too, that obviously that is not how she expected to tell me that I was going to have a new baby brother or sister. So we then had to tell all the rest of the family, and it's a hard situation to be in, to have to explain that I'm going to be a teen mum, but also I'm having a baby, but my mum is also having a baby at the same time. So telling family members was a bit surreal as well. And kind of, because we live very close to one another, I was living at home at the time, but because we lived in the same village and we're at the same places, things like that, we were getting the odd look, kind of, what's going on. So in the end, I did post on my personal Facebook that me and mum were both having a baby at the same time. Now, at this time, I didn't have a blog. I literally only had my personal Facebook and that was it. So that did make it slightly easier. I hadn't started blogging or anything by this point. But yeah, we kind of put a thing out and said, if you see us together, don't be alarmed. Yes, we're both pregnant, and that's just the way it is. But yeah, scans, I had my scan, everything was fine. My mum had her scan, and that is when they actually started to look at the fact that Rory had Down syndrome. Now, mum had a 1 in 5 chance during her pregnancy, and she had no further testing done. So my pregnancy was pretty much straightforward, and was all fine. Went into labour with Elsa. It was all hunky-dory. 17 days after Elsa was born, Rory was born. So there was only 17 days between my daughter and my brother, which is also a tricky one to explain to other people, but yeah, it's just part of our life. We're used to it now. The looks that people give us when we explain though, but I'll get on to that a bit later. So yeah, Rory was born 17 days later, and he was very, very poorly when he was born. it was quite obvious that he did have Down syndrome, and after a couple of days he got quite poorly with sepsis. He was sent to another hospital a bit further away from home, but they sent him to another hospital and they found out that he had a condition called Hirschsprung disease, which I might do a video on that on its own, just because it is a rare disease, not many people have heard of it, and I feel like it needs a bit more awareness, so that might be a video that I record at a later date, and just to like let you guys know, because there's not really that much about it, not many people have heard about it, but basically it is a bowel condition where the cells in your bowel don't work properly. They don't form while you're forming inside your mother's stomach, and it should have been picked up while Rory was in the womb, but it was not. Now, because of this, he had a blockage in his bowel, so he had surgery when he was a couple of days old, and they gave him a stoma bag. So instead of going to the toilet the conventional way, he went to the toilet in a stoma, which that is scary in itself. Not only is Rory quite poorly, but he also has a stoma bag. So there was certain things that we had to kind of adapt to as a family, and that was definitely one of them. We were definitely thrown in at the deep end of all of Rory's medical things. So yeah, after about 4 or 5 weeks, Rory came home, and obviously he came home with his stoma bag. Now, during this time, my mum was at the hospital and I was still living at home. Obviously, I had a newborn baby, but I also have other siblings, so it was a stressful time. I had to take on care of my siblings while my mum was recovering herself, and also having to deal with Rory, and yeah, was just there for him. So it was a tough time, but we did pull together as a family and everything turned out fine in the end. It was a very stressful time, to say the least. I had just had a baby, I was a first time mum, I was thrown at the deep end myself with just that. And then it was kind of, here you go, here's a bit more, and have a brother with Down syndrome and have to take on your siblings and a house and everything else. But it was fine, and after about 5 weeks, Rory actually came home. Now, after Rory would come home and we would go out together, and we would have a double trolley, and in the double trolley there'd be Rory and there would be Elsa next to each other, and you would always get the people that come up to you and go, are they twins? Yeah, but she was born 2 weeks before, you know, and he was born 2 weeks after, so it's kind of, you have a bit of a joke with them. Oh yeah, of course they are. And we did make our own little jokes about it. We made it quite funny because it was just so long-winded and so many people asked, that we did make a few little jokes about it. And we did have a few people like turn their noses up and make a few comments, and I would go, that's my brother and that's my daughter. And there's like less than 3 weeks between them. But they are as close as ever now. Their bond is absolutely incredible. And it definitely brought us a lot closer as a family. Rory now, he obviously still has Hirschsprung, and we are still learning about Down syndrome and still going through the journey of that. So it did all work out in the end. Obviously, it was definitely being thrown at the deep end, and obviously I've now gone on to have Cleo and Brody. So even though I was a young mum, it definitely didn't put me off, and yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. But Rory and Elsa's bond is so strong now. They're like brother and sister more than they are uncle and niece. And that is kind of what inspired me to become a blogger. Obviously, I'd become a first-time mum, and it was quite daunting even that. And then with the whole thing with Rory, I needed an outlet, and that is where my blog obviously like blossomed from. That is where it came from, and it helped me write down what was going on in my head and my thoughts, and obviously it's grown into this now. And before I go on about, you know, videos about Rory and Elsa and all of this, I just wanted to make this video in case anyone gets confused, because it can be quite confusing, and Rory does get called my son quite a lot and I have to explain it, and yeah, so I just thought I would make this video just to kind of make it aware. And there will be other people in this situation that are, you know, teen mums or pregnant at the same time as their mum, and I just want to tell you our experience and the journey that we went on with it. Obviously everything has worked out perfectly, absolutely perfectly, and They are the best children ever, and yeah, just the bond they have is absolutely incredible, and the bond we have as a family is absolutely incredible. So if you have any questions or want me to do a Q&A about anything I've spoken about in this video, I will be making a video more about Down syndrome and more about Hirschsprung disease. I can do a video on pregnancy. If you just comment below, message me on social media, anything, then I will see what I can do. But if you do have any questions, comment them down below. And if you like this video, then subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.